Mic check, 1 2 1 2. What's up, guys? This is the Portuguese mofo, or Sam here. I'm going to bring you another battle replay. This one was about 2 months ago. See, the date here was December 18th, 2025. Alright. Against Yangimazu. He's been on this channel before. So, yeah, this fight, I go a much more balanced approach, bring some match locks. If I remember correctly, he has a Fall of the Samurai army. So this is a good fight. I outnumber his troops a little bit. And yeah, you're going to see what I do here is I'm trying to get him engaged into the town and kind of tied into some of the buildings. And I press to beat him to all the dojos. So, as we load in here, alright, perfect. So, my build here, alright. So, here's my matchlock cores, right? Of course, you can't go without the Portuguese tercios. If I'm going to be the Portuguese mofo, I got to have my boys with me, alright? Got to have the squad. Alright, then we got a veteran matchlock Ashigaru, and then we've just got a regular Ashigaru, matchlock Ashigaru, alright? We've got my katana core, and really, I call it a katana core, but this is a tercio formation, right? And if I remember correctly, I did put them into 3 separate groups, right, into the tercios, alright? So you have a matchlock, a katana, okay, and then an Ashigaru, alright? So 3 units of katanas, 3 units of regular Yari Ashigarus, and yes, they were all veterans. Yeah, I think this is an entire army of veterans except for the 1 matchlocks and then the bow samurais. Yep, so I got 2 bow samurais. Right, follow the samurai armies. I always think it's good to have some bows, just because, right, you can hopefully pick off some good gun units, right, with their range and deplete them, especially if they're caught not shooting. But anyways, and then I also have my long Yari Ashigaru here just to help protect my bow general, right? I've been planning with a bow general since the start. And then, yes. Then I brought 2 elite units of cav, and this is important, right? It would seem that he has the cavalry advantage, but you'll see having the Spears of Shizukatake and Kiyomasa's Katana Cavalry do me a big service later on. And then I also have some Waka Raiders, alright, here in the back. Now, this must have been Ultra Funds just based off of what I brought. I don't remember, obviously this was a little while ago. But yeah, they're here because we've got the Morale Dojo, right? A lot of times for a lot of people, this is seen as maybe the most important dojo on a battlefield. Sometimes I think there's good debate about that. I think sometimes the attack dojo might be, but there's different situations, right? And then we got the farmhouse, right, for stamina and speed. Okay, and if I remember correctly, I actually gain control of both of them eventually. But again, we'll watch the battle unfold. So he has a Fall of the Samurai army, like I said, right? So he has a heavy cav contingent here, right? So he's got Imperial Guard Cav, Shogunate Guard Cavalry, and then 2 units of Yariki. I think that was all he had for cavalry, if I remember correctly. Alright, he actually brought 2 Bokachi, alright? So some bows to match my bows. He's got Tosa Riflemen, okay? They've got great range. He's got Black Bear, Shogunate Guard Infantry, and Shogunate Guard Infantry. So he's got 3 line units, alright, 2 elites technically, in the Black Bears. They're still solid, you know. And then we got, I believe there is a 3rd spear levy here. They're hidden, but yeah, he's got spear levies, and then he's got 2 Yarikachis, and like I said, I do think there's a 3rd one there. And then his general, which is, yeah, so he definitely did a gun. Yep, just a straight up, this guy is meant to kill. 95 reload skill, 90 accuracy, some extra ammo, alright, little charge, a little increase in range, right, a little increase in melee attack, okay, but this guy, he's trying to go bang bang boom boom on my boys, alright. So those are our army compositions. Let's get to the moving, right? So if you've been watching, right, and it's how most people go, right? You want to move quick. So you're going to see, right, I'm going to get my cav moving here right away. And now, right, he can't see them right now, but I am guessing. Right, I have a pretty big army here, so I'm thinking he doesn't know they're there. That's just what I'm thinking. Even taking a quick look over my army for an ultra funds fight, like all veterans, right? There's 3 that aren't. I mean, I bet guys are really good at quick mathing, like knowing exactly. But I do think that this army is a pretty good setup as far as hiding the fact that I am hiding a unit. Sometimes it's very obvious when, right, if there's obviously not enough troops over there, it's just like, well, where are they hiding, guys, right? So I think this worked out well for me in that sense, right? I've got a pretty large army here, so these hidden guys, and I do try to conduct patience with them. But I'm going to start bringing them over because I know he's coming. Yeah, and they're not hiding. So if I remember correctly, I made a decision, let's get the morale dojo and let's force him into this. Because my thought process was this, if I remember correctly, was do my best to tie him down as I try to attack his main force with my guns, my bows, and a few, and to get one of my spears over here. And that was it, just to try and cut them off, right? It's a lot harder to maneuver with cav because of all the buildings. Right, you have all these choke points, so I was trying to just get his. It wasn't even about the morale dojo anymore, except that I had the opportunity to actually get a chance at taking it because of my Waka Raiders, right, who are hidden again. Alright, so I'm going to get into here. Now, you're going to see me, I'm going to move a little late, because I know his Shogun Guard Cavalry is coming. Yep, they're going to get some shots, alright. That hurt a little bit, right? Gets 13 kills, but I'm going behind the building because I know. And then I do think, nope, he gets me on it, right? So he got the spears and Shizugatake, okay? But Kiyomasa's Katana Cavalry, they're the saviors, right? So my Wako's here, right? I did countercharge, I missed that. But I was able to countercharge them, right? They come, he pulls them out, right? This is one thing with Cav. He keeps going, but I keep chasing. Now we're moving over here. So I've actually gotten out of my airfield groups, if I remember correctly, and it's like, alright, matchlocks, you're together, you're moving, and then I'm like, we are going to swing and try and cut them off. So if I can get great shots, right, use my skirmish here, okay, because here I'm in a situation where I just think I can win the skirmish. And Cocaine here, alright, these guys have extra speed and charge bonus upgrades, okay, that's why I named them as such. Alright, this was more of a fun unit, but I'm working to get into them, right? Let's charge. Now, we're going to see over here. I didn't really think I was going to be able to get away with this, but Kiyomasa's Katana Cavalry, real strong, right? They were able to win, and with my Wakos, alright, I kept chasing, and I got my Ari Alphas over here. Now, they didn't even have to enter the fight, right? But I've been able to take out 3 of his Cav. Alright, and he has just 1 left, and I really only lost 1 cavalry. Alright, now my Wakos are hurt a little bit, but they're going to finish capturing. Okay, and Kiyomasa's, I'm honestly I just chase them, because these are gun cav, they can cause damage. We're going to get a good charge over here with the Katana Omegas. Got decent damage, right? We'll call that just over 40 kills probably on the charge. Alright, we're getting good shots into these Rikachi, okay? The Cocaine, they did a good job. They were able to get into them, which was important. Right? Got the Yari Primes moving. Now, it looks like, here we go, I moved them into the walk, right? I did have them in Yari wall and was running them forward. It's important that you get them back to a walk if you are going to run with them, right? So that their spears are down, okay? Getting some shots. Oop. And if only I didn't stop with them, right? Wow, that's... And I do that sometimes. It's like, man, I'll stop guys before I charge sometimes. And it's truly just trying to over-micro. But getting into them here, they're getting some good shots, but they're hurting their own guy. Little Spear Levy, I'm moving up my matchlocks a little bit. They're not going to get many shots in here, right? But, okay, one thing that's helping me right now, you see, a lot of the guns don't have a line of sight. Okay, a few over here. Alright, but they're not able to get shots into my guys, which is huge. I'd love to say I was so tactically aware that I perfectly charged like that, but you know, some of it's just, it's how it happens. Look at this. They ended up in a great spot, alright, except that he goes point blank on me, right? Have your guns in guard mode, it'll help them do that, okay? Even if they're engaged in combat, you can still have guys shoot off from the side. I start directing shots, right? Because here I realize this is where the devastation is kind of happening. But we're okay. I got my Yari Ashigaru here. I think I get them in, yep, get them into the Yari wall quick enough. And we're able to catch these Yari Kachi before they get as great of a charge as they could. Now we're running into this. We've got them routing, so we're able to get into their Tosa rifle, which is good. The Tosas, they're very strong, especially if they can get a lot of shots off. So here we are, right? Now I'm just beginning to collapse in on them. Right, and really I was just able to kind of choke him into this point, right? Kind of up on this little hill here, okay? But this hill, just because of how it is, right, wasn't great for the fights that he got into, right? And I was just, there's a lot of cover, right, in different points of the fight. So here we go. Oh yeah, these guys. I remember. So I'm moving them forward. They're like just walking. I'm like, all right, but like attack them, and then they, you know, everyone sees this. They'll just do this like spin, move, and reform in the same spot for seemingly no reason. But that's just you know, right? Fun game mechanics with AI. Being silly. It's like, man, I didn't train you to do that, sir. I know, but we can't control ourselves. Fair enough. So anyways, that's that battle. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you could learn something. Right, these post-battle analysis. Just wanted to get one up for today. Let's end the battle here. And we'll look at the kill distribution. But yeah, so got a busy day ahead of me. It should be on later, playing. Not that this matters. You might watch this a year after I did it. But I'm going to continue to have fun, keep working on this craft. Yeah, I'm excited to hear if I mouth breathed a little less in this one. I'd like to blame it on winter and stuffy nose and all that stuff, but I'm not one for excuses. Yeah, just funny. Just noticing I do that a lot when I play games for whatever reason. So I'm going to keep working on that. Hopefully I was a little cleaner in this one. So let's look at our stats here, right? I have a bow general, right? He always does well because he's just ripping shots. So one thing I'll say with myself I can get better at is giving him good targets. I'm not always picking targets, so that would be good, right? Now spears, right? They got caught in a charge and without a counter charge. They're still going to do solid, right? Because they're so strong. But really, this is a pretty weak number. I should have been able to get a charge off, but you know, life happens. Kiyomasa's Katana Cav, right? Lost every single one. You know, it's not a great kill death ratio for them, but their role was vital just because of their survivability, right? We're able to hold 3 Cav units in place and essentially defeat them. So the Tercios, they did okay, right? And my Ashigaru, my Matchlocks, really, these can be greater numbers. It's still something I'm getting my Matchlocks engaged in good spots, right? Where they have good line of sight, where they can shoot into enemies that are fighting. It's part of the reason why, like, in a lot of, especially my early builds, I was working katanas rather than nodachis. They can take a little bit more gunfire, a little better than the nodachis, I think. So, right, but it's kind of pointless if I'm not getting all the shots that I can. And people can correct me on that. Katanas did well, right? My Omegas, they're probably my highest casualty producing unit of all of them. I think they were my first, or one of my first veterans. They might be the highest killers of all my veterans. Cocaine, right? So this one was a fun one, and I, right, put all speed and charge bonuses, if I remember correctly. So did pretty good, but they had an important role, right, where I was just able to get them engaged pretty early. And it's crazy, right? This is not how you should actually use real soldiers, but a sort of cannon fodder, right? Get up into their own bows and let them shoot into them rather than my other guys. Kind of soak some of that while they're still getting kills. Normally, right, these aren't the units you want to use, right, as, soak sponges, right, for missiles and stuff. But I think there's a time and a place, right? Usually you're looking at Naginata attendance, that type of stuff for that. So, but, my Yaris, right, pretty solid across the board, right? They all kind of contributed in their own way. The Yari Primes, they lost a decent amount, but they were taking a lot of gunfire. So to do that well under fire, pretty good. Wako Raiders, 160 kills, right? So, and they were just able, right? You're not typically thinking Wako Raiders as an anti-cav unit, and they're not, but because of how that battle unfolded, and I know I did miss it on the replay, but they were able, right? I was able to countercharge those Yari Ki, which pulled away, and then I was able to countercharge them again, so getting good charges into them, and they have charge upgrades if I'm not mistaken. Was really good for that. To be honest, the long Yari, they did eventually get into it, right? Obviously 145 kills, and I'm pretty sure they did eventually fold on, right? Went around left, all right, came in as part of that folding maneuver onto the enemy's right flank. However, I did not really feature them or get any close-ups, I don't remember. And then the Bosam, okay, these were, right, really just units to hopefully protect was sort of their role. Bow Samurai, they're decently, not saying Bow Samurai are actually tanky, but they do okay when they get into the melee, so that was my intention of bringing them in this fight. And they, obviously not heavy usage, but, they were there, and they were there to perform a role, right? Try to make sure we have actual roles for them to perform. So even if a unit's a throwaway unit, you want to throw it away appropriately. And again, we're talking about video games, not real dudes. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to keep working on this craft, keep working the breakdowns. Hope you guys have a good day. Peace.